When it comes to arcade racing cabinets, Cruisin' USA will always have a special place in my heart. But at my local bowling alley as a kid, a huge neon behemoth soon replaced the machine that had taken so much of my money. The new cabinet was San Francisco Rush, with its huge bucket seat, extremely loud sound system and subwoofer built into the seat. It was every bit as crazy as it looked. As an early N64 adopter, this was just one of the games I'd been looking forward to a home console port of, and I didn't have to wait long. You see, in late 1997, Midway did publish San Francisco Rush Extreme Racing. Developed by Atari Games, it was not only a port of the arcade original, it went one step further to make this the version of one of the most beloved racing games on the N64. It's not just me though, for months this has been the most requested series of games for me to review, and so for the first episode of this special San Francisco Rush Series week, we will take you back to where it all began. San Francisco Rush is a pure arcade racing game. It's as simple as hitting the acceleration button, pointing your car in the right direction, and doing everything in your power to reach the next checkpoint before your time runs out. What makes the game interesting though is the sheer number of different routes and shortcuts you can reach your next marker with. Whereas some racing games tie you to a set strict path and will punish you if you so much as veer slightly off the track, San Francisco Rush rewards your inquisitive nature. This is perhaps one of the reasons a home console version works so well. When I was in the arcades you had a dilemma. Firstly, if you chose to stick to the track, you'll most likely make the next checkpoint, but you may not lead the race. If you take a risk and try to find a shortcut, you could take the lead, but if you make a mistake then it's game over and it'll be time to drop some more change into the machine. The N64 version takes away this potential punishment for being curious, and so now you're free to roam across the tracks trying to discover the quickest way around the course. Not only this though, the game also has 6 to 8 hidden keys for you to find on each course. Collect enough of them and you'll unlock extra cars to race with, so very much like Beetle Adventure Racing, this game rewards you for trying something a little bit different. Finding the keys adds hours to the gameplay. Sometimes you'll be able to see the key and you'll need to find a building or ramp to vault off to get some serious air to collect it. Other times you'll need to smash through false walls to find your hidden room or cave. While the game remains a racer at heart, just using your imagination to find everything really feels like a worthwhile addition, than being just something forced into the game to add some extra hours gameplay. When it comes to the racing though, the game contains everything that you could hope for. There are 6 tracks with secret ones to unlock, and you can race them in reverse also. There are a huge range of cars to choose from classics to the more unique, and they each have their own stats, so I would suggest that you start with the beginner cars, and when you do get comfortable, move up to the more extreme cars which do require a little more skill to get the most out of. In a nice touch though, you can also adjust the tracks, everything from the fog, drones, laps and wind levels, as well as deaths which occur when you crash. That leads me on to perhaps my first gripe with the game. You will crash and burn a lot. If you do so much as clip some of the corners of the buildings, you will be sent into a burning fireball across the track. Other races give you a little more leeway when it comes to collisions, but San Francisco Rush on the other hand punishes you at every opportunity. This is also not helped by the slightly soft controls. Handling the game is nicely done with just the simplest control system you could ask for, it's just that some of the cars do rarely seem to turn no matter how hard you push on the stick to the side. Thankfully though, not all the vehicles are the same, and so do spend some time with experimentation to see which different cars work best for your racing style, and you'll probably be able to find one that works with how you like to race. Being a port of an arcade racer, the game modes are a little slim. You have the circuit mode where you'll race the tracks in sequence, a practice mode where you can try to find some hidden areas and routes to use in the main game, and a multiplayer mode which supports you and a friend racing. The graphics in the game are not great in comparison with some of the later releases, but for this time everything does do the job, and due to some clever track designs, pop-up is not so much of an issue. The strong game engine which Atari developed called Flagstaff works wonders in this game, and it helps to keep the frame rate rock solid and surprisingly gives a great sense of speed. This is a racing game that actually feels as fast to play as it looks, and when compared to Top Gear Rally, which was another early N64 racer, this pips it to the finish line almost every time. Perhaps the biggest letdown though is the game soundtrack. If you remember the bass-heavy rumblings of the arcade machine, you'll be sad to know that the N64 sound is nowhere near as good. The entire score sounds heavily compressed, and to be honest, it seems a bit of an afterthought in the game. The effects too are just not good enough. The engine noises and screeches as you skid across the track are below par. Thankfully though, the crashes and explosions are well done, but it lets down the overall package when everything else in the game is just so good. When I first heard that Atari were bringing San Francisco Rush to the N64 and that Midway were publishing it, I instantly and wrongly assumed they would just make this the quickest port in history just to get it onto store shelves. To give them credit though, they took pretty much everything I loved from the arcade machine, added some great new modes and features, and released a game which in some way surpasses the original arcade release. Sure, there are some cuts, some of which they added into Rush 2, but for a first release this is about as good as early N64 racers got, and one which was only surpassed by the sequels which later came out. So many of you have been asking for reviews of the Rush series for quite a while now, and so I want to know just what it is about this series that you love so much. Was it the nostalgia of the arcade cabinet, or was it because you picked this up early on and spent hours trying to pull off cool stunts and finding the secret routes? Or maybe even you were disappointed by this. Believe it or not, it didn't get perfect scores when it came out, so I guess not everyone remembers this game so fondly. So as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and until next time.